In today's video, I'm going to do a very simple guide of how you can be eligible for a number of airdrops in thriving ecosystems. Now, the way we're going to do it is going to be very low effort, not very time consuming, and under $500 per criteria. So we're going to keep it very simple for today. Now, if you do enjoy the video, please do drop a like, subscribe to the channel, but let's get started on this easy airdrop farming journey. So before we get into it, we need to clarify a couple of things because a lot of people often talk about airdrops as free money. Now, this isn't exactly the case. It will cost you usually one of two things, if not both. First is your time. So it can be that you are doing some testing on a testnet. Maybe you're trying out a new beta before it goes live, and that's going to cost you time and you will be rewarded in tokens for your time. But that isn't low effort and it's not low maintenance. It's very time consuming. The other side of things is a cost financially. So you've got to put some money up front. You're not necessarily spending your money, but you need the capital available to participate. So this is more based around staking. Now, the thing is with this is once you've done it, you're eligible, it's done. And this is why it is more low effort, but you do need the capital up front. Now, in this video, we've done it to basically be eligible for airdrops with $500 or less. So we're trying to keep it as achievable for most people as possible. Now, some examples of these in the past could be the likes of the GTO drop of the end of last year. So we've seen people who staked Sol receive even 4 or 5 figures, healthy 5 figures, as the token continued to increase in price. And that was just from staking. The other one that springs to mind for me is the Atom stakers who received tier tokens, and the list goes on. But the idea here is that the more you stake, the bigger the rewards will be. But for the sake of this video and to include as many people as possible, we're starting with the smaller amounts, the minimum amounts, to make sure that you are eligible. Now we begin the guide, and it all starts with a wallet. So the two wallets I recommend are either Kepler or Leap. Both are absolutely fine, but for today we're going to use Kepler for this guide. And the best place to start is the Twitter feed because you're going to get the official links, no spam, no phishing. So we're going to start here, clicking on the link in the bio. This is going to take us to the Kepler website. We're going to click install Kepler, and then we're just going to pick the relevant browser or device to get the wallet installed. Now, this is basically a Chrome extension for me in today's video. I already have it downloaded, so I'm just going to basically move on now to what you'll see once you're onto the official dashboard. Now, you're going to get the small browser extension in the top right, but this is the official dashboard. Now, from this point, you'll see I have highlighted a number of different projects. So we've got Celestia, Cosmos, Injective, and Osmo. Now, the reason I've done that is because these 4 are basically the tokens that we're going to focus on in today's video, and this dashboard is where we are going to stake our tokens. So we have the wallets in place, but we need to load them up. So I'm going to go through the easiest way to basically do this. Now, if you have an account with a centralized exchange, such as maybe Coinbase, Binance, KuCoin, these kinds of exchanges are the best places to get started. What you'll be able to do is buy your tokens there, whether it be Atom, Injective, Osmo, or Celestia. Now, the thing is, you don't have to buy them all here, even if you can just get one, because what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to use applications such as Helix, where you can basically swap tokens within there. So if you put all of the money into Injective, you'll be able to then use this to make swaps and divide it across the other tokens. And we'll get into that a little bit more in terms of how much you need for each one later in the video. But to just get started, the easiest way is to use a centralized exchange. You can buy all 4 on certain exchanges, but if they are not listed on your exchange of choice, then this is the next best option. And to be honest, as a little bonus, if you do more swaps on an app like Helix, you may be eligible for further airdrops based on that activity. So that is something to keep in mind. But when it comes to actually buying on the exchanges and then sending over, what you'll be able to do is basically click on the browser extension here, click deposit, and click the relevant chain that you are actually going to deposit in. So if you're actually going to load up your wallet with Atom, I'd be using the Cosmos Hub wallet, Injective, and so on. But the thing is, when you are basically sending the funds from these exchanges, what you're going to want to do is make sure that you're sending them on the correct chain. So if you're sending Injective to your Injective wallet, just make sure it's on the Injective chain. Make sure you've put a memo, because it's very important for a lot of transactions to be successful that you put that memo in. Okay, so we've downloaded the wallet. We've loaded up the wallet with some funds, but how much do we actually need for each of these 4 different coins that I've discussed to participate in potential airdrops? Now, this is varied, but due to a few reliable sources that I've found on Twitter, a lot of people are sharing the same information, that there are some minimum amounts involved. Now, we spoke about the $500 mark. All of these are under that mark individually, and it's entirely up to you how many of them you want to do. You don't have to do them all. You may have more conviction in one than others, and that's entirely your choice. But to get started, we have atoms. So the amount there that we're looking at is 25 atoms. So that's currently at around $250 at the time of recording. We then have TIA with the same amount, but the token is slightly more expensive. So this is at around the $380 mark. Then we have Osmo. 160 is needed for this, but the token is far cheaper per unit. So this is more around the $300 mark. And then lastly, we have Injective, and 10 Injective is what people are saying, which is about $385 as of the time of recording. Now, this video will go out in a couple of days, so I hope for you guys that we see a little bit of a dip and you can get these tokens even cheaper. But like I said, it's entirely up to you which ones you participate in. They're all in the Kepler wallet. It's all straightforward. You just have to, as we mentioned, send funds and then divide them as necessary. So the thing here is, for me, if it was me personally and I had to choose between them, Injective and TIA would be the ones on top of my list. Personally, I've just got more conviction in their ecosystems right now. I think they're going to have a very good 2024, as will all of them, I'm sure, but they're the ones that just lead the way for me personally. So it's entirely up to you, but that's what I would say. Staking is what is going to make us eligible for any upcoming airdrops. So we're back on the Kepler dashboard now. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at a few different rules when it comes to staking these. So we're going to use Celestia as an example. Now you can see here that I already have some validators in place, and the idea here when picking validators is that you don't use exchange-based validators, so non-exchange validators. So if you see the word Binance, just stay well away. And what you want to do is pick some outside of the top 10. Now, ideally, you want to be splitting your fund, your pot, across at least 2 different validators, but it can be more if you wish. Now, the 2 that I've chosen, the top one, completely random, the ZK Validator, and Stake Cito is probably one that I recommend just because they support all 4 of the tokens that we're covering in today's video. So that's just something to keep in mind, just for a bit of consistency and ease. But when you're scrolling down all of these validators, you're going to see, so Coinbase Cloud, for example, I'm staying away from that one. I don't even know much about it, but I know Coinbase is a centralized exchange, so you don't want to touch that one. And then anything outside of the top 10 as we're scrolling down, there's loads to pick from. If you wanted, you can always do your research, so you can actually search them on Twitter, search them on, go on their website, check them out, see what you think before going ahead, do a little bit of research. But generally speaking, as long as they're outside of the top 10 and they're not an exchange, they're going to be a good pick. So what I've been able to do then is pick 2 for TIA. If I go into Cosmos, I only have 1 at the moment, but I need to pick up on another. So good job I'm doing this video. Injective, I've got a couple, and this is Talis and Black Panther because there has been heavily rumoured airdrops for these 2, if not confirmed at this point. And then Osmo, I picked 2 more there. So that's just something to keep in mind. But again, it's very simple. All you're doing really is clicking on the selected validator. You're going to click stake and then continue to stake. And then you're just going to input your amount. So whether it be, 100 Osmo on that one and stake. So very straightforward. Once you've done that, you'll be able to keep on top of it by just looking at your validators at the top of each page. And just as a little bonus, if you have some extra funds that you want to play around with, one platform that I've seen heavily hyped outside of the Kepler wallet is Milky Way Zone, and this is where you can stake your TIA and receive Milk TIA in return. There's been a lot of talk around this one. I've staked a little bit of TIA over on here, and you can actually utilize that Milk TIA and play around with the platform to pretty much increase your chances or increase the size of your airdrop in the future. So that's just something to keep in mind if you have a little bit extra. It isn't part of the Kepler wallet, but it is something that can be utilized for further Celestia airdrops. And lastly, before we wrap this one up, there are just a couple of things that you need to know before you get into the staking. Now, first of all, it's important to know that when you withdraw or unstake, it is going to take usually 14 to 21 days to receive them tokens back in your wallet. So if you don't see them immediately or instantly, don't panic, that is completely normal, but also keep this in mind when you are staking. If you're going to need that capital soon, you may want to think twice about deploying it to these validators. Now, the next thing you want to know is if we look on the Kepler dashboard, you can see a few tabs at the top and we've got active proposals. This is where you're going to be able to vote on different proposals within these different ecosystems, depending on which ones you stake on. And the more involved you get, the more votes you do. This is just going to increase your general activity within that ecosystem and may score you some more tokens when particular airdrops drop. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. And then lastly, if you do want a written version of this, I have done a thread quite recently, just basically covering this kind of stuff to give you an overview of what I've been doing with my own airdrop farming. So a few things to keep in mind there before you make any further decisions. So that is all for today's video. Hopefully it was useful. I know the world of airdrops can be quite overwhelming and hard to keep on top of. So this video was just really to help people navigate some of the more simple, less time consuming airdrops. But really the message here is just do what works for you. If you're working a full-time job, kids, family, wife, and you don't really have the spare time, but you have some capital, maybe this video is more focused for you. But if you're a student, don't really have much capital and have plenty of time after classes, maybe you go more towards the bug testing and the test nets where you can get free tokens for your time. It really depends on you and your situation, but ultimately there is an airdrop out there for everyone. It's just finding the right one. Now, even within the Kepler wallet, there are so many other tokens you can utilize and get involved in. It really, again, depends on which ecosystems, which projects you are bullish on. But for today's video, it was just what I have done personally. I feel like I'm best placed to talk about the airdrops that I have personally participated in. So hopefully it was useful. If it was, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, comment and let me know which airdrops you're farming at the minute. But in the meantime, please do trade safe, invest safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.